So this debate has been ongoing: social media versus the mainstream media, which is more effective and more, something which is up to date and relevant in today's time. Your thoughts on it?
There was a time when there was no social media. We were all having only the mainstream media. We used to have newspapers and we used to have the TV channels. My childhood, of course, we saw the Doordarshan being the only TV channel giving us media, but Doordarshan always has been considered to be a spokesperson of the government. So really speaking, they were not expected to give a impartial view of subjects which were controversial subjects as far as the government is concerned. So my childhood, if I remember correctly, around the time of emergency, I started reading newspapers, and because that was the time when there was a lot of things happening, and there was so much of turmoil, so many things happening that one wanted to know what is happening in this country. So that's the time I started newspapers. Now, initially, this trend continued for quite a number of years, and we used to consider certain papers to be more objective and more critical of issues, and also fearless. They would come up, they would have editors who would have full authority to decide what will be published and what will not be published. Now, this is what happened, I would say, in the 80s, early 80s, and even up to 90s. Then slowly, social media started creeping in our system. With the advent of internet, we started having YouTubes, and we started having all these other methods by which you could, disseminate information. Simultaneously, there was a shift in the ownership of these large newspapers. Most of these large newspapers were taken over by big industrial houses. So they also were, in a way, trying to control that whatever important information, which according to them is important, should go in a particular way, rather than giving the editor a freedom to decide what is happening. Initially, till we had the Tata Sky, etc., when we were only dependent on, we had the option of looking at our mobiles for YouTube, and mostly the channels used to have these Tata Sky, etc. When one used to open one of these news channel every day to just see what is happening in the country. But technology has taken a sort of a big change in our country today, and now every household has a internet connection through which you even go to a news channel, and through which you go to YouTube, through which you go to Netflix and the other social media platforms. Now, what is happening today, the credibility of the newspaper is going down. The credibility of the news channel is going down. So more and more people are depending upon people whom they feel are credible, and to hear from them rather than go by what a channel is showing or what a newspaper is showing. I'll give you a very interesting example. On this Law Day, I spoke on the Constitution Day, in Law Day in the Supreme Court, where the Law Minister and the Chief Justice of India were there. And in the evening, in the President's Law Day celebrated by the government, where the President of India was there, the Law Minister was there, and the Chief Justice of India were there. In both these days, I said it's a day for introspection, and we have to see whether what Dr. Ambedkar had thought for this country, are we in the right direction. I also pointed out that Dr. Ambedkar had, in his first speech after the Constitution was adopted, had said that he has one regret, that he didn't provide for any qualification for legislators. And he said, and this was actually discussed in the Constituent Assembly, and it was discussed by saying that the people of this country have always thrown up an equally credible leader whenever a freedom fighter has been arrested by the British. So it was debated in the Constituent Assembly that the country will always keep throwing up good people to become leaders of the country, and there is no need to provide for any qualification. Now, obviously, that has completely been belied, and obviously, it's time to introspect as to whether we should curb the money power in election. We should curb this criminal element, people being allowed to contest elections. It could be by law, it could be by self-regulation of these major political parties, it could be by the election commission. All these are matters of debate, but we have to do something. We are in a very alarming situation today because almost 40% of our legislators are having criminal background. Now, when you see what was reported the next day, I'm not that I'm wanting for their reporting to come, because I know that this will not get reported. No newspaper carried this part of the Law Day speech. They carried something about women's, which is also important. But this is, I think, is more important than anything else. When a lawbreaker is the lawmaker, what kind of law do you expect him to make for the country? So the narrative today is only populist, what the government wants the narrative to be, and what the media feels will not, ruffle anybody's feather. So the narrative is now today to carry only stories which are, palatable to the powers that may be, and not get into areas which actually are in national interest. So I think it is for this reason actually also that 4 months back I started my own YouTube channel. I said at least somebody should speak what is right for the country. At least somebody should say that something drastic needs to be done. At least somebody should try and encourage the youth of today to look for ways and means to decriminalize politics. Ultimately, the youth of today is the future of this country. And if they also feel the same way, or if I'm able to impress upon them to feel the same way, then I'm sure at some stage in their lives they will also try and do something to see that this corrective action does happen in our democracy, and we are able to do something to bring on more probity, more people of credibility, more people of integrity, more people of learning in the parliament, because they ultimately are going to shape the future of this country by making laws and devising policies and ensuring that the country progresses the manner in which it should be, considering the vastness of our democracy and the fact that we are the largest democracy of the world.
Thank you, sir.